Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Good morning.
Is everyone ready with the device? We are about to start the debate. Government team complete. Please turn on your camera. Government team. All right, so everybody is ready and we are about to start the debate in this octo-final round. Welcome to the octo-final round of ITEO 2021. My name is Arif Branuda as the chair adjudicator in this room. On the government teams, we have POLTEKBANG Medan with the order of the speaker, Ms. Dian as the first speaker, Ausdana as the second speaker. Third speaker will be delivered by Celestio, and reply speaker will be delivered by Mr. Ausdana. And the opposition team, we have PIP Makassar with the order of the speaker, Mr. Akbar as the first, Ananda as second, and the third speaker will be delivered by Brittany, and the reply speaker will be delivered by Akbar. Debating under the motion, this House believes that political parties should be held liable for a corrupt act committed by their members. Now, before we start to proceed to the debate, I would like to remind everyone that when you have reached 1 minute, there will be a bell ringing. Can you hear the bell?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
Loud and clear, sir.
Thank you. And also, when you have reached 6 minutes, there will be also once times of bell ringing, and 7 minutes will be twice and continuously after 20 minutes. Now, without further ado, let's start by calling the Prime Minister to Mr. Dian, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, the judges, for the honorable chance. Let me introduce myself. I am Dian Graciela Simbolon as the first speaker from this motion, and we are the government. This House believes that political parties should be held liable for corrupt acts committed by their members. Based on laws of Republic Indonesia number 2 of 2008, Article 1, political parties are organizations that are national in nature and are formed by a group of Indonesian citizens voluntary on the basis of common desires and ideals to fight for and defend for the political interests of members and society, nation, and state, as well as maintain in the integrity of the unitary states of the Republic of Indonesia based on Pancasila and the law of the 1945 Constitution of Republic of Indonesia. When corrupt politicians are caught and convicted, they may suffer a variety of penalties, including fines and incarceration, and the government might also seize assets that were the process of the wrongdoing, but the punishing the individual politician is not enough to deter wrongdoing or to compensate for the harm that corruption causes. Moreover, even when an individual politician was the only actor who deliberate and intentionally engaged in corrupt criminality activity, that individual politician is not the only one at fault. politician decisions are affected by norm with the political parties. For example, by expectation, sometimes and stated that politician will bring in a certain amount of money for campaign funds through the grab. There are some reasons why we should be held liable for corrupt acts committed by their members, such as one, goals of the party. Every party cannot possibility not have the objective of a party. So in realizing its vision and mission, of course, every member should have a sense of awareness of these goals, so there is involvement in realizing his goals. Two, thirdness. By asking the political party to be accountable, there will be a return of trust from the public in the political party that not all members were involved in the acts of corruption. Three, prevent the involvement of every member, both those in the party or in other parties who want to try this action, because there will be a real sanctions and the legal means and the uncountable the action. Four, to find out the flows of cycle of the involvement of corruption acts committed by members in the party. So this will be elaborate with the relevant agency regarding this action, like we know that KPK. Five, through this accountability, it is easy to find out the background of a member of the party who is involved in the acts of corruption, because it is impossible for a political party to easily accept its member if they do not know how their journey and activities are in the political party. Six, creates deterrent effects on the political party and other parties that wish to attempt corruption acts, so there is fear in doing so because to clear and firm sanction. Seven, if there's no accountability from a political party, it can be assessed that the political party is apathetic towards every member and leader in the party, because while knowing its member alone is unable to be trusted to be able to lead and join members of the people's leader. And the last, practicing the Pancasila, implementing the 1945 Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia and statutory regulation based on Article Point 13 at the number 2 of 2008 from the laws of the Republic Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you for the first speaker of the government team, who spent 4 minutes and 7 seconds. 4 minutes and 7 seconds. Now, to respond to the case of the government teams, I would like to summon the first speaker of the opposition for Mr. Akbar, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Before we jump to our arguments, I want to thank you for the adjudicator for giving us this opportunity to deliver our arguments on the motion today, which is this House believe that political parties should be held liable for the corrupt acts committed by their members. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard from the first speaker of the government team already mentioned that from this motion itself, they agree that we should the parties we should be responsible for the corrupt acts committed by their members, based on their first argument and the main point that we catch from them, which is political parties is involved in the selection for their members, and the individual is not easily as to be targeted as the suspect just because of their corruption acts. Ladies and gentlemen, before we jump to our humble arguments and define our reasons why we should do so, I will talk about what the first argument of the main argument of the first speaker of the government team. Ladies and gentlemen, they come up here and mention to us that political parties should be responsible, and because they are involving in the selection of their member. Like example, we have some kind of election, and their parties, their member will become the member of that election, like the head of secretary and something like that in the political parties. And after that, they mentioned that they are going to deliberately choosing them and going to filter it and choosing the best. Ladies and gentlemen, on that we agree that they will be choosing the best. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why they don't want this to happen. I mean, how come a political parties will choose a person if they don't trust the person, ladies and gentlemen? But the effect of that, the result of that will be going back to the person itself, ladies and gentlemen. But it will be connected to our first argument, which is fairness, ladies and gentlemen. It will be fair if the person is responsible for his or her violation of the law, which is corruption, ladies and gentlemen. I will give you an example. We have two situations here, which is a comparison. One, if the person is responsible for the act, and the second, if the parties is responsible for the act, ladies and gentlemen. If we give an example, the person responsible for the act, the person will be criminalized, of course, ladies and gentlemen, and will be fined. Of course, they will be responsible for their own act. After they are going to be selected, it's like a head of treasury. They are going, he is conducting a corruption, and he is going to be criminalized. And because on their job, their new job, ladies and gentlemen, as the head of secretary, they are going to meet a new people, for the new structure of that job, which is secretary, you will meet a president, vice president, and that job is not only about their own parties, ladies and gentlemen. They will meet the parties from the other parties, which is not only their parties, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not fair to think that their parties should be responsible, ladies and gentlemen. They will be meeting a new person. It means they will be having a new situation, ladies and gentlemen. And after, yeah, of course, before that, the political parties will be choosing. But, ladies and gentlemen, the one who is conducting the job is the person itself. I will continue my argument. If we are going to choose the parties responsible for the act, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we all know that the parties will be criminalized or will be fined, ladies and gentlemen, as per the first speaker of the government team have spoken to us before. And if we do this, the person can take advantage of this. Like example, we are chosen, or me, we are someone who are chosen to be the new head of like a section of farming or something like that. And after that, they are conducting he is conducting a corruption. And what he's going to think, what should at least the one who are being blamed is the party itself. Maybe he will lose like a reputation or something like that. But the major damage will be got on the political parties, ladies and gentlemen. And the worst and it's not only the worst of all, ladies and gentlemen. The worst of all is the parties will try to hide their members' guilt, ladies and gentlemen, just to avoid being responsible, ladies and gentlemen. And if we, as the motion, this House believe that political parties be held liable for the corrupt acts, I will underline the word corrupt acts, ladies and gentlemen. If we want to eradicate corrupt acts, this will only increase the chance of corruption, ladies and gentlemen. By doing so, as we have already spoken to you before, the political parties will try to hide their members, and it's another form of corruption, ladies and gentlemen. And whether it is paying the law or paying the police officer and something like that, just to avoid the bigger damage to the political parties, ladies and gentlemen. So we disagree that the parties should be held liable for the corrupt acts, as the first speaker of the government team has spoken to us. Based on this reason, as us, we agree that we want to eradicate corruption, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we want this nation, we want this world to be a better place, ladies and gentlemen. And that's only our first argument, ladies and gentlemen. That's why political parties should be held. If political parties should be held liable, will only increase the chance of corruption, ladies and gentlemen. That is our first argument. And the second is our argument, which is state instability, ladies and gentlemen. We are not static, we are dynamic, ladies and gentlemen. And the president and the vice president can not only be from the same parties, but can be from different parties, ladies and gentlemen. It can create a massive confusion between each member and misconception of the one who should be guilty. If we do this, ladies and gentlemen, if we implement this. Like example, the president and the head of secretary is from the different parties, ladies and gentlemen. And the head of secretary is doing a corruption, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the president, if we are going to implement this law, which is if we believe this law is the correct law, then after that we will blame the parties, which is the whole member, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, the member, the head of the other member, which is like not the head of secretary doing the corruption, the other member will be blamed, like, oh, your parties cannot be trusted, your parties doesn't have a good credibility, and something like that, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want that to happen. It will affect the whole system, ladies and gentlemen. That we all know here, the reality is that the whole structure is not only come from the same political parties, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we, as the opposition, we disagree that political parties should be held liable for the corrupt acts committed by the member, as per our arguments. Based on this reason, ladies and gentlemen, and because we want the truth. Thank you very much. That's all from me.
Thank you very much for the leader of opposition who spent 6 minutes and 45 seconds. 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Now to continue the debate, I would like to call the second speaker of the affirmative team for Ms. Ausdana. Mr. Ausdana, please.
Thank you for the time you've given me. I, as the Deputy Prime Minister, would like to rebut one argument that was given by the opposition, which is that the political party itself, will hide their own members. You know, from the first argument that were given by the Prime Minister, the goal of the party is that every party cannot possibly not have objective of a party. So in realizing its own vision and mission, of course, every member should have a sense of awareness of these goals. So there is involvement in realizing the party's goals. So if that party will hide their own members, they will not likely to follow their own objective. And so that party is will actually have to disassemble itself, because they don't they're most likely to have a policy where they have this policy which is about combating corruption. So they must have that some kind of policies about that. And to continue to my argument, the main focus of a political party is, one, to increase the participation of the political and the people inside a political organization, and the government itself. The second is to
Sorry, I cannot hear your voice. I'm sorry, I cannot hear your voice.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can continue. I've paused the time, so you can continue now.
Okay, thank you. So I will repeat my point. When corrupt politicians are caught and convicted, they may suffer a variety of penalties, including fines and incarceration, and the government might also seize assets that were proceeds of the wrongdoings. But punishing the individual politicians is not enough to deter wrongdoings or to compensate for the harm that the corruption causes. Moreover, even when an individual politics was the only one who deliberately and intentionally engaged in corruption criminal activity, that individual politician is not the only one at fault. Politicians decisions are affected by norms within a political parties. For example, by expectations that politician will bring in a certain amount of money for campaign funds throughout graft. For these reasons, political parties, in addition to the individual politicians, should be held liable for corrupt acts committed by their members in the course of the political activities or official duties, and such liability should attach even in the political party's leader did not specifically know about or overtly endorse the corruption act in question. This seems like a radical suggestion, but in fact, there are many contexts in which the law imposes so-called vicarious liability on organization for act committed by the organization's member or agents. For example, the legal doctrine or respondent superior said that an employer or other principal can be held accountable for the wrongful actions or an employee. if the wrongful action were within the normal scope of employment. Although vicarious liability is as well as a established legal principle often used to hold employees responsible for the conduct of their employment, that concept has not been extended to hold political parties as organizations legally responsible for the corrupt acts of their membership. Such as extension may seem radical, and in a sense it is, but it would be justified. To make this case, I'll apply the three-pronged standards that Black's Law Dictionary lays out for respondent superiority liability to be appropriate in the employment context. First, though politicians are not employees of their political parties in the conventional legal sense, they are undoubtedly agents of the party in the relevant sense. This is most clearly in the case in the clause list, like for example in Indonesia itself, where voters cast their ballots for a party rather than for a individual candidates, and the parties fill the seats they win according to the predetermined list that the party has created. Effectively, voters hire a party and the party hires the legislators. Even in the countries that use winner takes all or proportional representation system, the politicians are still agents of the parties is the most relevant respects, as at least where parties exert considerable amount over their members. Second, although not all criminal acts committed by politicians could be said to be in their capacity as politicians or party members, many acts of corruption are committed in the context of political or official government activity, not substantially different in kind of thoughts or criminal acts committed by company employees. For example, making public expenditures or overseeing procurement are well within the normal scope of politicians' employment. This is often when corruption occurs. Third, additionally, for vicarious liability to attach the individual agent's unlawful conduct must have been for the benefit of her principal. In the context of politicians and political parties, while many acts of corruption are solely for proportional enrichment, many are for the benefits of the party. Indeed, in many countries, it is simplest or accepted understood that politicians will divert some shares of public funds or bribe proceeds to the finance campaign to stay in power. Thus, the predicaments already exist. That may make it possible for the politicians to bring such cases to court in civil law jurisdiction and common law of law jurisdiction that have less predicament on vicarious liability. In addition, laws could be passed to clarify a political party's liability for corruption by its member. Ideally, parties would be found at fault if they acted negligently. That is, if the party failed to establish appropriate norms and control to prevent corruption.
Thank you. Thank you for the Deputy Prime Minister who spent 7 minutes and 26 seconds. Now, to respond to the case of the government, I would like to call the Deputy Leader of Opposition for Mr. Ananda, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am the second speaker that coming from the opposition team. And ladies and gentlemen, before we are going too far, I would like to remember the honorable of adjudicators, the member of this house, and the government team itself. Our motion today is this house believe that political parties should be held liable for corrupt acts committed by their member, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a debate whether we are going to be put political parties should be held liable or not, ladies and gentlemen. So we as the opposition team strongly disagree with this motion. We don't think that we strongly disagree that political parties should be held liable, ladies and gentlemen. And why? I would like to explain it in my arguments. But before I jump to my humble arguments, I would like to rebuttal what the first speaker and the second speaker has already delivered to us before, ladies and gentlemen. So my rebuttal is coming from the first speaker and the second speaker of the government team has come up to here and talking about how it's the corruption acts, it's not committed alone, ladies and gentlemen. The second speaker speaker also support it by saying that the individual is thinking that they are in argue to raise the funds for the campaign fund, and then feel argue to satisfy the political parties. So they are committed. The corruption itself, ladies and gentlemen. But ladies and gentlemen, they didn't bring us the valid data. What is proof that the corrupt acts that already happened, so that this motion is raised itself? It's not committed alone, and it's because in their own need, or then when they feel urged to raise the funds for their campaign fund, or it's because the political parties tell them to raise the funds, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, we are all know, if we are reading the news, that is the funds for the political parties itself is already reached the amount of 6 trillion rupiah. So, ladies and gentlemen, where is the proof that it's not committed alone, and political parties is the one who tell the member to corrupt itself, ladies and gentlemen? And then the first speaker also talking about the political parties is involved in the selection for the member. They should be filtered and choosing the best. But ladies and gentlemen, let's don't get too far. Let me take a really simple example. We are all high school student, right? We ever doing in high school student. In our class, there is a treasurer. She is having our money for our class funds and etc. But if she corrupt it, why should all the class member, or even the teacher, or even the class, you want to punish them? You want to punish the class? You want to punish all of the students because of the one particular member committed a crime or committed a corrupt? Ladies and gentlemen, that's a simple example that I want to ask the government why the political party should be held liable for the corrupt acts committed by their member, ladies and gentlemen. And then jumping to my humble argument, that is my first speaker already delivered to us, like the fairness, and then the political party should be held liable will only increase the chance of the corruption itself, and then creating confusion. But ladies and gentlemen, I will talk about the law indication, that the right law for supporting our argument in here. Why we are strongly disagree with this motion is because, ladies and gentlemen, in chapter 9, article 2, in the rule number 4, year 24, about the judgment power, they are talking about asas tiada pidana tanpa kesalahan, or in English we can talk about the basis of no crime, or the principle of no crime without error. It's a fundamental basic on the law, ladies and gentlemen. It's a responsibility element and factor for us to subject on the law, ladies and gentlemen. The position of the corporation, which is political parties we are talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, it's a corporation. In this law is being talked about how this corporation or these political parties is not having a soul, just like us human. So so it didn't fulfill as the element of the psychist to be able to point out or call as the thing that have a mistake or should be held liable, ladies and gentlemen. A crime itself is a fundamental element as a proof to place a law against someone and have to be fulfilled, so the subject of the law can be put in the jail, ladies and gentlemen. But with this asas tiada pidana tanpa kesalahan, or the principle of no crime without error, putting someone in jail or caught them or telling them to should be held liable or point them as a criminal is not enough if what they done and fulfill the requirement of the subjective guide, which is this asas tiada pidana tanpa kesalahan. So, ladies and gentlemen, this just supporting that this house will not making the political parties should be not held liable for the act that committed by their member, because this asas is an absolute based on law, ladies and gentlemen, and its axis. So why the political parties that we are talking here is not creating a crime should be held liable or should be fined or should be punished or should be banned or should be furnished when they didn't corrupt and the corrupt itself is committed by their member. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really bring harm than the good itself, because let's talk about the political parties that already exist even before the Indonesian have our independent days. Ladies and gentlemen, you just want to varnish them, you just want to punish them, you just want to take all of the money because one of the committed member one of particular member committed a corruption. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you my simple example. It's just so simple, ladies and gentlemen. The member of this house and the honorable of adjudicators. It's just so simple. Why one people making corruption and a whole political parties should be responsible for it, should have liable for it. It's just totally make no sense, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that's all that coming from me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for the second speaker of the opposition, who spent 6 minutes and 34 seconds. 6 minutes and 34 seconds. Now I would like to invite the government whip for Mr. Sulistyo, please.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So before I start my argument, thank you for the honorable judges and ladies and gentlemen. So before I jump to my argument, I want to rebut the second speaker of the opposition team that give me example about the school, but our motion is talking about political parties. I think it makes no relation between our school and the political parties, because when someone in the political parties commit corrupt acts, there will be a specific team to investigate the corruption act itself. It's different with the school. There is no eligible team to investigate any corruption acts that committed by the school members. It's different with the political parties. And the second thing is head liable itself. Head liable doesn't mean we have to punish every single member of the political parties. Head liable not always about punish. So the simple thing about head liable itself is when the political parties gave a track record of their member itself. So we never say that we have to punish every single member of the political parties, but a simple thing about head liable itself is giving their track records or etc. And for those reasons that my first and second speaker said, that political parties should be held liable for corrupt acts committed by their members in the course of their political activities or official duties. And such liability should attach even if the political parties leaders did not specifically know about or overtly endorse the corrupt acts in question. This may seem like a radical suggestion, but in fact, there are many contexts in which the law imposes called vicarious liability in our organization for acts committed by organization's member or agents. For example, the legal doctrines that respondent superior says that employer or other principal can be held accountable for wrongful action or of an employee if the wrongful action were within normal scope of employment. Common example including suing a hospital for malpractice of one its physicians or holding the government financially liable wrongful conduct by law enforcement officers. Similarly, under the law of main jurisdiction, a corporation may be held liable for acts committed by corporate employees or by their members. These vicarious liability doctrines are important because a single employee frequently does not have resources to redress the wrongs committed, and also because the employer often bears some responsibility for whatever the employee did due to company culture, training, and incentive schemes. Because of the economist point out that vicarious liability can be more socially efficient. So I think we win this motion as the government team. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you for the government whip who spent 3 minutes and 13 seconds. 3 minutes and 13 seconds. I would like to invite the opposition's whip for Ms. Brittany, please.
Okay, thank you for the chance that have been given to me. I'm the third speaker of the opposition team. So today, I want to show you why we totally disagree if the political parties should be held liable for corrupt acts committed by their members. But first, before I jump into our arguments, I want to rebuttal what the government side of the team has already told to us, ladies and gentlemen. The first speaker of the government team come up here and telling us about the how the easily of political parties itself to receive the member, while she already show us or even mention us that political parties also having how to say the selection before choosing their members or individuals. But ladies and gentlemen, let us tell you that my first speaker and second speaker also telling you that before they are the election the political parties is doing the election of the members. They are they will choose which is the best of the member. And also when someone or even when someone went to the election itself, they will prove how good they are, or how the possibility of themselves to be a part of this political party itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, the political parties will see the good side of this of the person itself to be select in the election before. Just like the first speaker of the government already told us, if the political parties should be the one who is involved in the because of the selection for the member. And then this the second speaker of the government team also telling us about the parties, the policies in the parties itself, that is just helping us to tell you that the political parties itself have the policies that has been how to say obeyed by the member of the political parties. And one of them we will not betray them, will be to not corrupting. And ladies and gentlemen, if it's proven that their member is corrupting or corrupting just like that, it will just show us that is a individual act of the corrupt itself. And because the political parties have the policies, just like second speaker of the government already told us before. And then the third speaker, ladies and gentlemen, of the government team up here and telling about the investigate team. That is just showing us that investigate team has a job to investigate about this corrupt stuff. And then, ladies and gentlemen, if it show us that it is just an individual act, it just show us that why the political party should be held liable if this is just an individual act by these political parties itself. And then also the third speaker telling the third speaker of the government team come up here and telling that we don't they don't want to they don't have to punish every single member of the political parties itself. But ladies and gentlemen, let us remind you that every single member is one of the political parties. So directly or even indirectly, they will have to be part of the one that should be held liable, because they are one of the member in the political parties itself, ladies and gentlemen. And then what we want to tell you that just like our team my team arguments that telling about if the political party should be held liable for corrupt of the acts committed by their members, it will be no fairness in the political parties itself. Just like my first speaker already told you about the fairness in the political parties. If just one single individual doing the corrupt act and just spending that corrupt himself or herself, it just unfair to the other member of the political parties if they have to be liable for that one ocnum that being corrupting. And then, ladies and gentlemen, also just like my first speaker telling you that it will be increasing the corrupt number in that political parties if the whole political parties is going to be held liable, because just like my first speaker told you, that political parties will try their anything to hide their members' guilt, to avoid to being liable or being responsible for that individual corrupt by their members. This just increasing the chance for more corruption, more and more. And then also just like my second speaker telling you the example that political parties is just like a whole class, it will not just one single member, but whole class. I mean, the whole political parties will be punished or even liable or even taken the responsible for this single or even individual act. And ladies and gentlemen, let us telling you about our arguments in the fairness. Just like my first speaker already told you, and my second speaker also told you that it will be not fair enough. And then also it will be the state instability to the political parties itself, and also we can just find or even liable these political parties just because of the someone's act, because the party is not taking the advantage of the corrupt. If the parties is not taking the advantage of the corrupt, it means it's just an individual act. So why the political party should be held liable? So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We totally disagree with this motion that this House, two political parties should be held liable for the corrupt acts committed by their members. Thank you.
Thank you. The opposition's whip spans 6 minutes and 49 seconds. 6 minutes and 49 seconds. Now, to close the case of the oppositions, I would like to invite the reply speaker of the oppositions for Mr. Akbar. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I will say thank you for the humble adjudicator for giving us our last arguments in our reply speaker. Me as Muhammad Akbar Mulana as the reply speaker, we have witnessed here, all of us as witnessed all of this debate, and I've seen there are three major classes in this debate today, which is the first one is the classes about the political parties is involved in the selection for their members of the individual, as per the first speaker of the government team has already spoken to us before. But ladies and gentlemen, in our first and second speaker already mentioned to us that it is true that political parties wants the best of their situation for the best future, that they are not going to choose the most corrupted one as the members of the next generation of the members, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why in our first and second speaker already mentioned to you that it's not fair if the political and in the fairness, it will not fair that is the political parties will be held liable for the corrupt acts committed by their members, ladies and gentlemen. Because as our first speaker already mentioned to you that they will be meeting a new person, and they will be meeting a new organization, new individual from a lot of other parties, ladies and gentlemen. That's the individual responsibility for that job, ladies and gentlemen. And the second one is we have the classes which is parties have policies, as the second speaker already have mentioned to us before, ladies and gentlemen. But in our second speaker already mentioned to you, ladies and gentlemen, in our humble arguments that if person is doing corruption, they said that they are not following the policies. But in our second speaker already mentioned that it means the person should be responsible, not the parties, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the party's fault. The parties already formed such policies, and the member should be doing so, but the member itself is making the error, ladies and gentlemen. And in our second speaker already mentioned to you that it's not the party's guilt, ladies and gentlemen. It's the person or the member fault, ladies and gentlemen. That is why we disagree that political parties should be held liable only for the corrupt of acts committed by their members based on this reason, ladies and gentlemen, for the fairness and for the state instability, ladies and gentlemen. And the third thing they mentioned, the third classes that we have is about the law side, ladies and gentlemen. From we have witnessed from the government side already have the arguments that political parties affect the decision of their members, ladies and gentlemen. And as the law, the political parties should be involved for the law, ladies and gentlemen. But in our second speaker already mentioned to you also, ladies and gentlemen, in our humble arguments that we have the asas tiada pidana tanpa kesalahan, ladies and gentlemen. It means by our second speaker already mentioned to you, if the parties is involved, of course, the parties will be guilty also, ladies and gentlemen. But if it's not involved, the parties will not be responsible, ladies and gentlemen. It's the basic of the law, the fundamental basic of the law, ladies and gentlemen. As we agree from the first speaker and the second speaker of the government team that that the parties will have a deliberate decision by judge whether the parties are involved for the election, ladies and gentlemen. And based on this reason, as the opposition team, we disagree that political parties only should be held liable for corrupt acts committed by their members, ladies and gentlemen, based on the fairness, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that if we are choosing the fair decision for our future, we are giving the best, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. That's all from me as the opposition team.
Thank you. The reply speaker of the opposition spent 3 minutes and 31 seconds. 3 minutes and 31 seconds. Now, to end the debate, I would like to call the reply speaker of the government teams. For the reply speaker, Mr. Ausdana, please. Mr. Ausdana, please.
Excuse me, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Sorry, I cannot hear your voice.
Excuse me, am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you for the time for you giving me today. I would like to summarize the debate and the clashes that we've been clashing for today. So, in my perspective, there are only two clashes that happened today. One of the points is that first is the goal of the parties itself. So there's these parties already have policies and objective to follow by the members of these said parties. So if the member of the parties are corrupt, they make a crime of corruption money, not only does the member not only should be the member that be punished, but also that party itself should be punished because it is already how do you say this? Against the Republic of Indonesia Constitution of 1945, based on Article point number 13, Laws of Republic Indonesia, number 2 of 2008, which political parties are obliged to participating in Pancasila, implementing the 1945 Constitution of Republic of Indonesia, and statutory regulations. B, maintaining the integrity of the unitary state of the Republic of Indonesia. C, participate in national development. D, upholding the rule of law, democratic and human rights. And E, conducting political education and channels the political aspiration to its members. And the second argument that we clash today is to find the flow of cycles that is involved of the corruption act by committed by members in the party itself. They did not rebut this point because it is true and must be held till the end. And through this accountability itself, it is easy to find out the background because it is impossible for a political party to easily accept its member if they do not have their own journal and activities are in the political party itself. And also, this will create a deterrent effect on the political party and other parties that wish to attempt the corruption act. So there is a fear in doing so because of clear and firm sanctions. If there's no accountability from a political party, it can be assessed that the political party is pending towards every member and leader in the party. Because while knowing each member alone is unable to be trusted to be able to lead and join members of the people's leader. And that is why today I think we as the government won this motion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the reply speaker of the government teams who spent 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Well, let's give a round of applause for both of the teams. Thank you very much for the debate and congratulations for finishing the octo-final rounds, and also congratulations for proceeding into the octo-final rounds. However, because this will be a silent round, meaning that there will be no verbal adjudications after this, so you may wait in the main room of this Zoom meeting to wait for the announcements of which team will proceed to the next round. Congratulations, thank you very much, and good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.